Okay, welcome back. Today we are continuing our exam series where I'm going through a full-length RBT exam, question by question, breaking them down in a way that I think you should think about them when you're taking your RBT exam. So I hope they're helpful. If they are, please like and subscribe. That really helps me out. If you're looking for study materials, check out both of these links to our website and then our product page. I put these links in the comments and descriptions below. Okay, our website has practice questions, has all our videos, has our testimonials, and then of course our practice materials where we have practice exams, study guides, and then the combo. I recommend the combo. It comes with everything. Study guide, 2 practice exams with the answer keys and the flashcards. So check those out. Success rate is really high for those who get the combo pack, or you can just get the 2 practice exams, which I think are great as well. Other than that, keep studying hard, keep asking questions. I'm here to help, and let's get into it. So we're starting with question 31. You are working on gaining stimulus control over your client. Your client will sometimes flip over his chair when presented with a demand. Today, your client flipped over their chair. You asked them to pick it up, they complied, and you started clapping. Now your client will no longer pick up their chair when you ask. Clapping acted as what? So be careful with this question, okay? Because the typical thinking, right, is, well, you asked your client to do something, they complied, you think you praised them by clapping, but what actually happened? The behavior actually decreased, right? Now they no longer pick up the chair when you ask. So what did the clapping actually do? Did the clapping increase the behavior or did it decrease the behavior? And when you're dealing with reinforcement and punishment questions, that is the question you need to ask yourself. Is the behavior increasing? Is the behavior decreasing? Remember, the consequence, it doesn't matter what it looked like, right? It matters how it changed the behavior. Did it increase or decrease? And in this case, the behavior decreased. So we know what? It has to be punishment. Okay, so it's some type of punishment. Now, is it positive or negative? Did we add something to the scenario or did we take something away? Well, we added the clapping. Okay, therefore what? Therefore, it is positive punishment. We added clapping. The clapping decreased the behavior. Our client no longer will pick up the chair when we ask. Therefore, clapping acted as what? Positive punishment. That's a tricky question, okay? So make sure you understand how we got to positive punishment, right? We ask ourselves, did the behavior increase or decrease? Well, picking up the chair decreased, and then we add or remove something. We added something, therefore it's positive, therefore it's positive punishment. Okay, question 32. Which of the following is not an example of a prompt? So on the RBT exam, be very careful about not questions, be careful about except questions, okay? Questions where they're looking for you to basically find the wrong answer. And when you get a not question or an except question, the best way to do these questions are find the correct answers and eliminate those. So this question is asking which of the following is not an example of a prompt. Therefore, we should ask ourselves, so which of the following are prompts? So let's find all the prompts. A, before you start cooking, you put all the ingredients you need on the counter, so you include everything that the recipe calls for. Well, is this a prompt? A prompt is simply a signal, okay, or a gesture, or something to get you to do the target behavior. And if you put all the ingredients on the counter, okay, you are prompting yourself to use the right ingredients and to include all the ingredients, right? So A is a prompt. B, when you ask your client what 2 plus 2 is, you give them marbles to count. Your client answers 2 plus 2 equals 6. Okay, careful here, right? You gave them marbles to count, but did they display the target behavior? No, right? The behavior was incorrect. Okay, the whole point of a prompt is to evoke the correct behavior. If you're not evoking the correct behavior, okay, then you're not actually prompting, right? That's the entire point of a prompt, is to evoke the correct behavior so you can deliver reinforcement, right? So B doesn't look like a prompt, but remember, read all your answer choices because there might be a better answer, okay? C, you're training discrimination with the client. You say, point to triangle, and then you look at triangle. your client points to triangle. Well, this is a very clear-cut prompt, right? You point to triangle, you look at the triangle, what you're prompting them to do, and then they point the triangle. Okay, C is definitely a prompt. D, you leave $10 on the counter to remind your partner to pick up coffee on their way home. Again, clear-cut prompt, right? You told your partner to pick up coffee, you leave $10 out to prompt them, right, to get the coffee on the way home. Okay, so the best answer here for what is not an example of a prompt is B. And B is not a prompt, okay, because the client got the answer incorrect, right? Therefore, this is the best answer. A prompt, the entire intention of a prompt is to evoke the correct response or the target behavior. 33, a motivating operation, blank, and an SD, blank. Okay, so the question stem, right? The question is worded a little weird, okay? But all this is really is a definition question, right? All you need to know is the definition of a motivating operation and the definition of a discriminative stimuli or an SD. So again, I keep stressing the importance of learning your terms and learning your definitions because questions like this should be very simple, right? You should do these very quickly and then move on to the harder questions, okay? So a motivating operation is what and an SD is what? A motivating operation comes after an SD. Well, we can stop right there, right? Because where does a motivating operation occur? It occurs before the SD, okay? And then the second SD comes after a prompt. Again, no, an SD comes before a prompt. Okay, so A is out. B, a motivating operation alters the value of a reinforcer. Yes, and an SD signals a reinforcer is available. Yes, so both of these look good, okay? But keep reading. Motivating operation signals a reinforcer is available. No, right? What signals the reinforcer is available? The SD. The motivating operation just alters the value of a reinforcer, right? The motivating operation, the MO, just makes you want it or not want it, basically. The SD says, okay, it's actually available, right? So C is incorrect. And then D, a motivating operation comes before the SD. Yes, that's right. And an SD comes after the prompt. No, an SD comes before the prompt. Okay, remember, it's MO, SD, prompt, and then the behavior and the consequence. Okay, so our answer here, a motivating operation alters the value of a reinforcer. Okay, and an SD signals a reinforcer is available. So that question can be either very easy or it can be very hard. It just depends on how well you know your terms and your definitions. Okay. Question 34. Tiffany is man training with her client Bella. When Bella asks for water or apples, she should receive water or apples. When Bella asks her mom for water, she is immediately given water. When Bella asks her brother for water, her brother will often ignore her. Bella now only asks her mom for water and not her brother. What is this considered? So, in man training, okay, the item requested serves as the reinforcement. So when you're teaching mans, you're teaching requests, whenever the man is evoked, you should always reinforce with the item. Okay, that's how we teach mans. So in this case, Bella is asking for water. Okay, that's the man. Mom immediately gives the water, right? Immediately delivers reinforcement. Brother, however, does not deliver reinforcement. Okay, so Bella now only asks her mom and not her brother. So what is she doing? Well, is she generalizing? No, she's not generalizing, right? Because she's only asking mom, okay? So generalization is not correct. So there's some sort of discrimination going on. Is it stimulus discrimination or is it response discrimination? Well, what is she discriminating between? She's discriminating between mom and brother, which are what? Two different stimuli, right? So therefore, she is discriminating between stimulus, so it is stimulus discrimination, okay? She knows if she goes to mom, she'll get reinforcement. If she goes to brother, she won't get reinforcement, okay? It's the same response, right? The same asking for water response, right? But it's just two separate stimuli. All right, 35, before you implement an extinction procedure, what ethical responsibility do you have? So there's something we do ethically when we prepare families or whoever for extinction. What is that? Is it A, consult with your local authorities? No, you don't need to consult with authorities for extinction, okay? B, inform the caregivers and those around the client that an extinction burst may occur. Yes, right? This is something you should always do, right? Because what happens when we put a behavior on extinction? Well, there's a predictable increase in frequency and intensity of that behavior that is being put on extinction, right? Because why? What are we doing? Well, a previously reinforced behavior is no longer receiving reinforcement. So now the client thinks they have to work extra hard, so to speak, okay, for the reinforcement. So that behavior is going to increase in intensity, in rate, right? Some dimension of that behavior is going to increase. So we have to prepare the caregivers and those around the client for this extinction burst, okay? If the family or the caregiver or those around them do not believe that they can handle an extinction burst, then we cannot implement extinction, okay? We can only implement what we think will be implemented correctly and implemented to the fullest. And that's why ethically we have to inform them about this extinction burst, because we have to be sure they're ready to handle it and follow through with the procedure. Okay, so B looks good. C, there are no ethical considerations for extinction. No, there are. And then D, consult with legal representatives. Again, you don't have to consult with authorities or representatives, right? You just need to warn the caregiver and make sure they are ready, okay, for the predictable extinction burst. Question 36. What is a prerequisite to differential reinforcement? Okay, so what is differential reinforcement? We're reinforcing one behavior, putting other behaviors on extinction, okay? So we're basically teaching replacement behaviors, right? Or we're teaching a new behavior that we want to see more often, okay? So what is a prerequisite to differential reinforcement? A, you must try punishment first. No, we always try reinforcement first, right? B, you must conduct a preference assessment. Not necessarily, right? I mean, obviously you need to know what they like in their reinforcer, okay? But you might already have this and it's not an actual prerequisite to differential reinforcement, okay? You should just be doing preference assessments in general, right? So that way you can know what you're using as reinforcement, okay? C, the learner must have the replacement behavior in their repertoire. Yes, right? So what we're doing, DRA, differential reinforcement of alternative behaviors, or differential reinforcement of incompatible behaviors, or even differential reinforcement of other behaviors, right? The behavior that we're targeting, they should hopefully know how to do, right? If they don't, if we're doing a differential reinforcement of alternative behaviors and we're trying to teach an alternative behavior, what good is it if the client doesn't have that behavior in their repertoire, right? So if anything, we have to first make sure they know how to do the behavior, okay, that we want to replace or that we want to use as a replacement behavior. Because remember, with differential reinforcement, we're putting other stuff on extinction, okay? We're removing reinforcement from other behaviors and trying to teach, okay, these replacement behaviors, right? So they must have the replacement behavior in their repertoire before, okay, we can start differential reinforcement. And then D, you must identify at least 3 different reinforcers. No, not necessarily. I mean, you should have a variety of reinforcers available, okay? But it's not a prereq. If you have a very strong reinforcer, just 1 or 2, that's totally fine, okay? Question 37. As an RBT, you may be asked to conduct indirect assessments and measurements. Which of the following is an example of an indirect measurement? Okay, so what's an indirect measurement, right? Essentially, this is just asking, do you know your terms? Do you know your definitions? And there are some questions in the RBT exam like this, which should be very easy if you do. So what's an indirect measurement? An indirect measurement is when you're not observing the client, okay? You're not actually watching the client do anything. So which one of those fits that description? Event recording. Well, no, in event recording, what are you doing? You're taking frequency on a client's behavior. So it's not indirect, that is direct measurement. Interval recording. What are we doing here? Well, we're doing some sort of time sampling, partial interval recording or momentary time sampling. We're directly observing the client. So incorrect. C, surveys. Yes, right? With surveys, okay, are you actually watching the client engage in behavior? No, right? What are you doing? You're sending out surveys and you're asking caregivers, you're asking brothers, you're asking relatives, you're asking teachers, okay, about the client, but you're not actually directly measuring any sort of client behavior. And that is indirect measurement. Okay, so C is our answer here. Latency, again, is a type of direct measurement, okay, because we're directly observing a client's behavior and recording what happens. 38, you're working as a bartender and are training a new bartender how to make a margarita. The steps are add tequila, add lime, add sweet and sour, add ice, shake, and pour. You first teach the bartender to add the tequila and prompt them through the rest. Once they independently are able to add the tequila, you reinforce. You now expect them to add the tequila and the lime independently before receiving reinforcement. What method are you using to teach? Okay, long question, but shouldn't be a hard one, right? What are we teaching here? Okay, you're teaching steps, and when you're teaching steps, that should automatically trigger something in your brain that tells you what? You're teaching a chain. Okay, so A, B, and D look possible, right? They're all chaining. Okay, we're not shaping one behavior, we're teaching a series of behaviors. Okay, so what kind of chaining are we doing? Are we doing backwards, forward, or total task? Well, since we're teaching each step one at a time, okay, we're not doing total task chaining. Total task chaining involves doing all the steps and only teaching a certain few. Okay, that's not what we're doing here. We're teaching one step at a time and reinforcing and prompting through the rest. So the next question is, are we going forward or are we going backward? So our first step is add tequila. What do we first teach? Add tequila. Therefore, we are forward chaining. Backward chaining, right? We would first prompt through and teach pour last. But instead, we're teaching the first step first and prompting through the rest, and then the first and second step and prompting through the rest. Therefore, we are engaging in what? Forward chaining. Question 39, which of the following is not a conditioned reinforcer? So what's a conditioned reinforcer? A conditioned reinforcer is a learned reinforcer, right? Through learning, history, and pairing, it has become a reinforcer. So which one of these is not a conditioned reinforcer? Is it sleep, money, tokens, or verbal praise? Well, B and C are obviously conditioned reinforcers, okay, because their money is maybe the most common conditioned reinforcer, and tokens are extremely common in ABA. Verbal praise is definitely a conditioned reinforcer because we don't, we're not born needing verbal praise. Some people don't even like verbal praise, okay? So verbal praise is definitely a conditioned reinforcer. The answer is sleep. Sleep is not conditioned. It's unconditioned. It's a primary reinforcer. Everybody needs sleep. Given enough amount of time, okay, eventually sleep will act as a reinforcer without any learning history. And then finally, 40, Tim is working in a clinic setting. Every day, 4 clients eat lunch at 11 a.m. and 4 eat lunch at 12 p.m. Tim is responsible for taking data on his clients' eating behavior, but also making sure that other clients are eating. Every 3 minutes, Tim will look at his client and record whether or not his client is eating. What kind of measurement is this? Okay, so tricky question here, but a good question. All right. Tim has a client and he has to take data on his client's behavior. However, he's also, okay, making sure these other clients are eating. So what is the best tool here? Okay. Well, the best tool is some sort of interval recording. Okay. So we're not continuously measuring our client because every 3 minutes we're recording data. Remember, continuous measurement, okay, you're recording every instance of behavior. We're not recording every instance of eating here, okay? It's only every 3 minutes where we're taking data, okay? So this is discontinuous. Therefore what? B is out and D is out. Why is D out? Because frequency is a type of continuous measurement. We're using discontinuous measurement here, right? We're using interval recording and time sampling. So the question now becomes, are we using partial interval recording or momentary time sampling? Well, ask yourself, when are we recording the response? Are we recording the response throughout an interval or at the end of an interval? Well, it appears that at the end of every 3 minutes, we are taking data. So at the end of every 3-minute interval, what are we doing? We're taking data. Therefore, we are doing what? Momentary time sampling. Okay. So really make sure you understand this question and why it's momentary time sampling. This is a great example of when we use discontinuous measurement or when we use interval recording. Okay. When you have a lot going on and you can't take data continuously. Tim isn't unable to take data continuously. Okay. So therefore, he has to improvise. And every 3 minutes, he's going to take data on his client. So he's momentary time sampling. All right. I hope you enjoyed that. I will have the next part out next Monday. And again, if you need our study materials, check out our website, check out our product page, like and subscribe. Any questions, please leave a comment or email me. I'm happy to help. As always, study hard, and I will see you soon.